It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
The Geico Bassmaster Classic, also known as the Super Bowl of bass fishing, is happening this weekend at Lake Hartwell in South Carolina. And you might be wondering, who are the favorites? Well, the folks at Bassmaster.com come up with their best guess and their odds, too, though they freely admit that what they predict and what happens on the water seldom match up very well. With that in mind, here's this year's favorites. We'll start off with Mike Iaconelli, that well-known Jersey bass angler. He's one of them, despite the fact he barely qualified to get into the Bassmaster Classic this year. His odds of winning, 7-1. Kevin Van Dam, of course he's in there. He's pretty much the Tom Brady of the bass fishing world when it comes to longevity and excellence. His odds of winning this year, 6-1. There's Brandon Polinick, that young man from Idaho, a state better known for potatoes than bass, and he is a serious contender. After all, he is the reigning Bassmaster Angler of the Year, and you don't get that title without winning or placing well in a whole bunch of tournaments along the way. Another Westerner is thought to have the second best chance of winning the Classic this year. His name, Brent Erler. He hails from Redlands, California, and he actually won a big tournament in 2012 at Lake Hartwell, fishing in the Fishing League Worldwide Tournament Circuit, so he knows how to dial in these Carolina bass. His odds, 3-1. However, the odds-on favorite is Casey Ashley. He also won a big FLW tournament here in 2014, and he also won the 2015 Bassmaster Classic here too. Being from Donald, South Carolina, this is his home lake, and he probably knows it better than any other angler fishing the Classic this year. His odds of winning, 2-1, though the question may well be, can anyone beat Ashley on this lake? We'll find out together on Sunday. You can watch the weigh-ins live starting around 4 p.m. Eastern Time this weekend at Bassmaster.com, and highlights from the Classic will be broadcast on ESPN2 on March 31st and April 1st. This week on the show, Chuck Ciccarelli is going to introduce you to a new quick mount manufactured by Fish Fighter Products that allows you to change out your anchor nest for a bow-mounted trolling motor in a matter of seconds, something that will come in handy for bass and walleye anglers, along with a whole bunch of other fishermen on the water. After we talk to Chuck, we'll talk to Julie Mosier. She has a small company called Food for the Soul, and that's soul as in the sole of your boot. She makes dehydrated food for backcountry hunters, hikers, backpackers, and climbers, and it doesn't taste anything like the freeze-dried food you and I are used to eating in these situations. From dehydrated food, we'll head to the well-hydrated waters of Devil's Lake in North Dakota. That's where Johnnie Candle, a walleye tournament champion, operates a guide business. Johnny's going to tell you about how this lake has seen some real serious changes over the last couple of decades and about your chance to spend a day fishing and learning from a tournament pro on the water for a price that's more affordable than you think. We'll wrap things up with some outdoors news and a chat with Alan Horntagger Morris. Alan hails from Missouri, and his specialty is managing land for whitetail deer. You see, in the Midwest, and in the South, and in the eastern states, public land is a lot harder to come by than it is out west. That's why a lot of deer hunters, either on their own or with family and friends, will buy some acreage and develop it into quality habitat for deer so they can have a shot at a buck or two during hunting season. Alan has written a book on this subject, and today he's got some pointers on what to look for when buying some land of your own for some weekend deer hunting. Before we talk hunting, though, let's get back to fishing. Next on America Outdoors Radio, as promised, we are talking to Chuck Ciccarelli again with Fish Fighter Products. about something new they are rolling out this year at the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show in Portland. That's the background noise you're hearing behind us. A lot of people here at the show, and a lot of people are very interested in a device that's going to cut down on that frustration that so many anglers feel when they're out in the water. Chuck, tell us more.
Yeah, John, the key word is frustration, and a lot of our products are just literally born from frustration. One thing that I believe our products is they're blue collar. You know, people that work hard for their money. Everything we build needs to add a lot of value to the boat. And there's a lot of people, including myself, that maybe want to run a bow-mounted anchor nest when we're salmon fishing or sturgeon fishing. And then when it's time to go kokanee fishing, we would like to be able to remove that and install our trolling motor mount.
Well, I hear this not just for Pacific Northwest applications, but this applies for walleye fishermen or lake trout fishermen fishing some of the big Midwestern lakes too.
Absolutely. So here at this show, we've got people from all over and all types of fishermen, and this has been our number one seller at the show. In fact, we're here for, 5 days, and we sold out by 3 o'clock on day one. So,
and folks, we haven't even hit the weekend yet.
No, we've already been calling back saying get the machines running harder. It's a good problem, but one of the things we want to do is be able to ship on time and do what we say we do, so we take this really serious.
Well, we better tell people what it is because we haven't even gotten that far yet.
Yeah, sorry about that. I get a little excited. So what our quick mount consists of is we make a plastic puck and you mount it to the bow of your boat, and it locks in with a pin, and you can mount your anchor nest to the plastic mount. Then if you want to change over to your trolling motor mount, you just pull the pin out, remove the mount, and the puck stays there. Then we make another mount that's designed to fit Minn Kota trolling motors. We'll have more coming, but currently our Minn Kota mount fits the Tarova, the Ulterra, most of that style trolling motor, so you can mount it on. It's hard to tell you on the radio, but what it amounts to, in less than 30 seconds, you can take your anchor nest off and install your trolling motor. It's really that quick.
This is really something because so many anglers are very limited by just the anchor nest on their boat to thinking, well, I guess I've got to put a trolling motor in the back or an electric motor in the back where the transom is or close to it. But this is really smart. Again, it goes back to what you and the people that work with you do best. You turn out products that make a fisherman's life much more efficient and less frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a lot of this stuff is derived from all of the fishing guides. People that want to be able to convert from one fishery to another. Not everybody needs an anchor on the front of their boat year round. And it also helps, like a lot of people that are putting on a mooring cover at the end of the day. They can pull their mount off, stick it under the boat. The other thing we incorporated in all of these was a paddle lock locking system. So if you're at a motel, you don't have to worry about your anchor getting stolen off the bow of your boat.
That is a great idea. So you're not found in the big box stores. People are buying from you direct. What is the website to go to?
Yeah, go to fishfighterproducts.com or pick up the phone and call us. One thing we do is answer the phone all day.
Again, it's the quick mount system. So for your anchor nest, for your trolling motor, especially for the Minn Kota mount, this is going to make your life so much easier. If you're that person who fishes at anchor for trout, for walleye, for sturgeon, for salmon, but then other times, other places, and maybe even the same day, you want to switch over to a different style of fishing where you've got an electric motor at your bow, this is for you. It's going to make your life easier. You're going to really enjoy this. And again, all sorts of features that'll keep it safe and keep it on that boat for a long time. Fishfighterproducts.com is the website to go to. Check it out for these products and a whole lot of other ones that'll make your fishing life less frustrating and a lot easier. Thanks again, Chuck.
You bet, John. Thanks for having us.
If you consider yourself a hardcore fisherman who takes pride in being the first person on the water and the last one off, Fish Fighter products were designed for you. Fish Fighter products are used by the top fishing guides in the Northwest because they know having the right equipment is imperative to a successful fishing trip. With our Relentless Series tackle trays, rocket launcher rod racks, and breakaway river anchors, you'll spend more time chasing the fish, not your gear. Designed and built right here in the USA. Gear up at fishfighterproducts.com.
Where can you find 4 rivers, 3 great fisheries, 2 majestic mountains, and 1 fantastic adventure all year round? Sensational The Dalles. Active community, authentic food, and great beer. ExploreTheDalles.com. Come and create your own adventure, and maybe even you can hook a river monster in the Dalles.
I'd like to welcome a new sponsor to our show. It's Sportsman's Cove Lodge, and many anglers who have been there will tell you it really is Alaska's best lodge. Sportsman's Cove Lodge sits on a salmon highway full of kings and silvers. There's halibut too, and there are some really big ones. Finally, with decades of experience taking care of customers, Sportsman's Cove Lodge knows how to treat you right from start to finish. Ready to book your trip of a lifetime? Then call Sportsman's Cove Lodge at 800-962-7889. That's 800-962-7889. 800-962-7889 for Sportsman's Cove Lodge.
Ty Stubblefield here from Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, reminding you of our 7th annual North American Rendezvous, April 12th through the 14th in Boise, Idaho. Join us and special guests Randy Newberg, Ryan Callahan, Remy Warren, and Stephen Ranella for an event-filled weekend featuring backcountry seminars, our beers, bands, and public lands brew fest, and the world-famous storytelling night. All going on at the Boise Center, April 12th through the 14th. Get your tickets at backcountryhunters.org.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and our next guests are a mother and son team from Bend, Oregon. They operate a company called Food for the Soul. That's S-O-L-E, soul like the sole of a boot, not like the soul that's in your heart. Julie, Henry, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
So, Julie, we're going to start off with you. This is dehydrated food, but it's really different than most dehydrated food. Why is what you make such great food for hikers, backpackers, and backcountry hunters, too?
Well, our food is nutritionally dense, meaning that there's a lot of calories packed into every serving, and it's lightweight. And we really focus on making our food taste great as well as being fit for active people.
Well, I've got to tell you, you sent me some samples, and I tried the super peanut slaw. It really is tasty. You actually had it as a side for dinner, and it tasted just as fresh, just as good as anything else I had on the plate. How did you come up with the recipes and the taste? Was this just trial and error on your part?
Yes, it was trial and error. It actually started when I started backpacking myself and tried some commercially available food and really didn't care for it. Decided that I could make my own food and do better and just started experimenting. A couple of our recipes are actually old family recipes that I've adapted to the business.
So, Henry, I understand that you were the catalyst behind this business getting started because you were doing some serious hiking and your mother, Julie, didn't want you to go hungry.
Yeah, pretty much just like that. About 4 years ago, a buddy of mine ended up doing a 30-day hike through the high Sierras in California. And, we're landscape photographers, so we were carrying 8 pounds of camera gear. Among our list of demands was being pretty lightweight, and my mom, being the excellent chef that she is and having this dehydrated food hobby at the time, I asked her if she could resupply our trip. And she supplied us with the ability to have very lightweight food that was also all cold rehydratable. So we did our entire trip based on cold rehydration and we had such good results. We loved her food so much that, over the years, it kind of brewed into this business that we've created now.
That is kind of a key component here. A lot of the freeze-dried foods that are out there for backpackers, you have to warm up the water first to a boiling temperature, dump it in the packet, wait a few minutes, and then off you go. So this is really different.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's not to say that you wouldn't want to heat up water for our food as well. I think a lot of our food tastes really amazing with hot food. It really warms up your body. But the fact is, if you need to go with cold water, if you need to save weight or for whatever reason, you can. And a couple of our meals are actually specific. We made for cold water. We have some cold rehydratable salads.
Such as that super peanut slaw I got to enjoy. So, Julie, one thing I've noticed about the meals that you have in Food for the Soul, I didn't see a whole lot of chicken or beef or other meat involved. Are they all vegetarian?
They are all vegetarian. And we did that for two reasons. One, because as a small company, the USDA regulations over meat are very strict, and we just don't have the facility, the scope of the facility to meet that. And once we learned that, we started listening to our field testers and our customer base and realizing that what people crave, especially after a couple of days out in the backcountry, is the taste of vegetables and fresh-tasting vegetables. And so that's where our focus is. We have several meals that are really veggie-centric, like the peanut slaw that you sampled, and they can either be eaten on their own or they can be a side dish for some sort of beef, chicken, fish protein.
And that's something else that's really important to talk about here is protein, because that's really key. When you're in the backcountry, whether you're hiking or hunting or whatever you're doing, you're burning up a lot of calories. You need that protein for energy, but just because you're vegetarian doesn't mean you're sacrificing the protein, does it?
It does not. You're right, John. Our meals are all single serving, and they average 15 to 22 grams of protein per meal, which should be sufficient for most people's needs when they're in the backcountry. And we use a variety of proteins. We use nuts like cashews and walnuts. We use grains like quinoa and legumes or lentils. So we are packing those meals with calories and protein and carbs to get people through their activities and properly fueled.
You're listening to America Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Julie Mosier and her son, Henry Mosier. They are the two behind Food for the Soul, a company based out of Bend in Central Oregon that manufactures freeze-dried food that you can enjoy when you're in the backcountry, whether you're hiking, whether you're rafting, whether you're hunting, whatever you're doing back there. Something else I want to touch on here is the fact that this is very different than your typical freeze-dried meal, and I think the biggest thing, and you kind of touched on this, is the texture. It tastes like real food. It doesn't taste like freeze-dried food.
Right. Our food is dehydrated, and we chose that because we feel that we can maintain that texture through the dehydration and the rehydration process. Again, what we've heard from our testers is that they want texture. Too many foods are kind of homogeneous and there's lacking texture, and so we really focus on that aspect. When you open a bag of our peanut slaw, as you did, you can see the vegetable. You can identify what they are. We have a green bean stir fry where you can see the green beans and the carrots and the onions and the noodles and that. And we found that people love that texture that they're getting in. You should be able to have good food no matter where you are.
I agree completely. So we're back with you again, Henry. Besides that super peanut slaw that I enjoyed so much, what are some of the other meals that folks can enjoy from Food for the Soul?
So currently we have our coconut rice and Cuban black beans, which is an old family recipe of ours that we really, really love. Fan favorites are garlic green bean and cashew stir fry. We got our ratatouille and nutty quinoa pilaf, a roasted sweet potato with kale and quinoa, a lentil walnut pilaf with kale, and just releasing today, we have the miso happy slaw we have just created.
Sounds delicious, sounds healthy too. Very last question that I have for you, Henry. Where can folks get their hands on food from Food for the Soul?
Excellent question. So currently we are selling online, and if you are in the Central Oregon area, you can buy from our retailer, Mountain Supply, here in Bend, Oregon.
All right, so Mountain Supply in Bend, Oregon is the place for our listeners tuning in on KBND 1110 during the weekends. But for everybody else, you're going to want to go online. And folks, listen carefully to this website. It's Food for the Soul, soul spelled SOLE.co, not .com, .co. That's foodforthesoul.co. Foodforthesoul.co is the place to go for these nutritious, high-protein, vegetarian, dehydrated meals that you can rehydrate without heated water and enjoy when you're in the backcountry and really have a meal that you're going to say, that was delicious. Julie, Henry, thanks for telling us all about this on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. We appreciate it.
Ty Stubblefield here from Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, reminding you of our 7th annual North American Rendezvous, April 12th through the 14th in Boise, Idaho. Join us and special guests Randy Newberg, Ryan Callahan, Remy Warren, and Stephen Ranella for an event-filled weekend featuring backcountry seminars, our beers, bands, and public lands brew fest, and the world-famous storytelling night. All going on at the Boise Center, April 12th through the 14th. Get your tickets at backcountryhunters.org.
Looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook, because we've got it right here. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer an affordable platform to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting host John Cruz through his website at AmericanOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. But hurry, if you wait too long, this big opportunity might just get away. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We've got a really special guest for you today. His name is Johnnie Candle. He's a professional angler. As a matter of fact, he's the winner of the 2010 Masters Walleye Circuit. He's also a professional guide. He's taken clients out for walleye in Lake Erie and for salmon, steelhead, and trout on the lower Niagara River. But now he's guiding in North Dakota at one of America's best-known walleye lakes, Devil's Lake. Johnnie, great to have you on the show today.
Hey, glad to be here.
So, Johnnie, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about this very special fishery for walleye at Devil's Lake in North Dakota and how it's changed over the years, because there's been some real changes.
Yeah, there sure has. Devil's Lake is rather unique. It is what is considered a closed drainage basin, and there are only 2 of those in the continental United States. The other one is being Great Salt Lake that we all are very well aware of out there in Utah. What that means is it's just a big hole in the ground that fills up with water. Over the last couple of decades, we've had some very wet cycles in our weather patterns, and the lake has grown in the last 30 years from right around 35,000 acres to over 200,000 acres at its peak. The last couple of years, we've lost a little water, and right now we're sitting at about 180,000 acres. But this has created a very, very unique situation with flooded buildings, flooded roads, farm machinery, cars, swing sets, you name it, and it's probably underneath the water in Devil's Lake, and it's been a godsend for the fishery. We have some incredible spawning habitat. We have incredible areas for bait fish to hide and live and thrive. And when the food chain is strong at the bottom, it gets even better at the top. So the flooding has definitely been a very, very positive thing as far as the fishing goes in Devil's Lake.
That's really interesting. Talk about unique structure in terms of buildings and farm machinery. That's the sort of structure you're not going to find at most lakes, that's for sure. Is everybody just fishing Devil's Lake for walleye, or are there bass and other fish to target there as well?
Well, that's another way that Devil's Lake is unique. We do not have what most people would consider quote-unquote trash fish. The walleye is probably the king. We have northern pike, you have yellow perch, we have white bass, which is a distant cousin of the striped bass, and we have some crappies in the lake. There's also a couple white suckers caught here and there every now and then, but I would say in my boat you might see 2 or 3 of those a year. So odds are when you're out fishing on Devil's Lake, you're going to set the hook into what most of the world would consider a game fish. Now, summertime fishing, I would say walleye is primarily the target. When the ice comes, though, you get a lot of people coming from lands far away to chase the jumbo yellow perch through the ice. That's a great winter activity. We do catch a couple in the summertime, but not nearly as many as we do in the winter months.
You know, there's a lot of tournaments that take place on Devil's Lake for walleye. When it comes to a winning stringer, I mean, what is the average size fish you're targeting there if you want to come back and be in the money on any given tournament?
I fish tournaments all across the country, and every now and again, the national tour stops at my home in Devil's Lake. My goal whenever I'm out on Devil's Lake is 20 pounds a day. If I can weigh a 20-pound bag 2 days in a row or 3 days in a row for a three-day tournament, I've got a really, really good chance of being in the hunt. That's going to keep you somewhere around the top 10. If one of those 20-pound bags turns into a 25-pound bag, a 26-pound bag, now you've got a really, really good chance to win. I have seen a couple 30-pound bags for 5 fish, but those do not happen all that often. So, again, that 20-pound range is what you're shooting for. You know, that's a 4-pound average. And other than the Great Lakes or maybe some of the western walleye waters out there your way in Washington, Oregon, the 4-pound average is pretty dang good across the country.
Oh, it certainly is. Folks, you're listening to America Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Johnnie Candle. He is a professional angler. He's a professional guide. He's also a longtime pro staffer and pro guide for Max Lure Company, makers of quality walleye gear. Let's talk about your guide service, because it's not very often that somebody can get in the boat and spend the day with not just a tournament angler, but an actual champion like you are. Go ahead and tell our listeners about a day in the boat with you. What does that look like, a day on the water?
Well, hopefully it includes catching a lot of fish. That's the primary goal. But, I actually enjoy the guiding. It's probably, maybe second to seminar speaking as far as my favorite parts of my job. And I know that sounds weird. Most people would think, what do you mean? You'd rather guide than go fish a tournament? But I love sharing my fishing knowledge. I didn't learn to fish all on my own. There were many, many people from my grandfather to my father to other friends and competitors that taught me how to fish, and I kind of feel it's my duty to share that with others. So I try to run my guide service as a little bit more than just jumping in the boat, going out on the lake, catching a limit of walleye, coming back in and sending people home. I try to make sure everybody understands what we're doing, why we're doing it, why do we use the equipment we're using, how I can see the fish on my sonar screen, how my boat operates. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I think people are interested in that. I think they like to learn how to catch more fish. I'm assuming most people don't just fish with me. They probably go fish on their own as well. And if I can make those experiences better for them, as well as showing them a good time on Devil's Lake, then everybody wins in the end.
Well, and I think that's something that probably separates you from a lot of guides. I've talked to a lot of guides, as you might imagine, on this show, and most of them will tell me off the microphone that most of their clientele, you know, they're weekend warriors, they're guys that just get out fishing 3 or 4 times a year, and they want to make sure they have success. But going out with you, I'm guessing you get a lot of experienced walleye fishermen that are there, not, like you said, just to catch fish, but to up their own game so that they become a better angler.
Yeah, that's for sure. I meet a lot of anglers as I travel around the country. Obviously, there's a little bit of a following for the tournaments I fish. I do a lot of seminar speaking. I do a Walleye University, which is an 8-hour fishing class for walleyes that I've taught coast to coast, literally. I do some on-the-water, we'll call them fishing retreats, where you come for 4 nights and 3 days, and we get in your boat, we get in my boat, we do classroom studies. And when you're meeting those types of anglers, you know they're hungry for more information, and that is where the majority of my guide business comes from. So, again, my guiding, yes, we're out there We want to catch a mule of walleyes. We want to catch as many fish as we can. But while we're in the process, we're trying to learn or teach and share as much fishing information as I can, just again, so people can take it with them and use it somewhere else.
I got to tell you, Johnny, this sounds like an incredible day learning from a true champion, a true master. So 2 things I want to ask. First off, what's your daily fee that you charge? And then how much do you charge for one of these retreats?
So the daily fee for my guide service, those are $200 per person for a full day of fishing. I try not to run half-day guide trips. Just kind of messes up a guide's fishing schedule. So $200 per person for an all-day fishing excursion with me on Devil's Lake. And then these retreats that I put together, depending on the location, where we're at, the different resorts that I use, are anywhere from $650 to $700. Those include all your meals, all your lodging, your bait, your ice, your boat slip for the weekend. The only thing you got to cover is the gas to put in your boat. So they're incredible deals with the class work, the on-the-water work. And I'm going to let the cat out of the bag a little bit here. I don't have everything dialed in 100%, but I am bringing one of these on-the-water schools to the Tri-Cities in Washington this October. And maybe we'll have to get together and talk a little bit about that later on when I get all the details finalized.
Johnny, I would love to do that. And folks, talk about investments. Skip the stock market. If you want to be a better angler and take home knowledge you'll use for the rest of your life, sounds like you need to go fishing with Johnny either for the day or for one of these retreats. Sounds fantastic. If you can't do that, go to one of his seminars, his Walleye University seminars, the place to go to find out about all of this, whether it be fishing at Devil's Lake or going on a retreat or attending one of his seminars, is his website. It's Johnny, that's an IE with Johnny, JohnnieCandle.com, JohnnieCandle.com, candle spelled just like a candle that you light in your room. JohnnieCandle.com is the place to go. Johnnie Candle is the angler that will take you fishing and teach you a whole bunch along the way. Johnny, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
If you consider yourself a hardcore fisherman who takes pride in being the first person on the water and the last one off, Fish Fighter products are designed and built for you right here in the USA. Fish Fighter products are used by the top fishing guides in the Northwest because they know having the right equipment is imperative to a successful fishing trip. With our Relentless Series tackle trays, rocket launcher rod racks, and breakaway river anchors, Fish Fighter products makes the gear you can count on. Find out more at fishfighterproducts.com.
I'd like to welcome a new sponsor to our show. It's Sportsman's Cove Lodge, and many anglers who have been there will tell you it really is Alaska's best lodge. Sportsman's Cove Lodge sits on a salmon highway full of kings and silvers. There's halibut too, and there are some really big ones. Finally, with decades of experience taking care of customers, Sportsman's Cove Lodge knows how to treat you right from start to finish. Ready to book your trip of a lifetime? Then call Sportsman's Cove Lodge at 800-962-7889. That's 800-962-7889. 800-962-7889 for Sportsman's Cove Lodge.
Are you looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook because we've got it right here for you. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer affordable platforms to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting John Cruz through his website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. Hurry, though. If you wait too long, the big opportunity might just get away. AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
Are you ready for your best of the West affordable summer vacation? Hello, I'm Mark Hemstreet, owner of Shiloh Inns. Many of the big hotel chains will have hidden extra fees for things like parking, internet, so-called resort fees, and lots more. The list is as long as it is sneaky. But at Shiloh Inns and Suites Hotels, there are no hidden fees. Shiloh amenities are all free, like Shiloh's spacious pools and spas, steam and sauna rooms, fully equipped fitness centers, and even the kids stay free. And don't forget that Shiloh Inns also provide a free continental or full hot delicious breakfast at most Shiloh Inns. Now that's affordable excellence. For reservations, call 1-800-222-2244 or visit our website at shilohinns.com. Smoke-free and dog-friendly Shiloh Inns. American family-owned and proud of it.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers 7th Annual Rendezvous is coming to Boise, Idaho. Join fellow sportsmen and women from across North America for an event-filled weekend at the Boise Center, April 12th through the 14th. For tickets, go to backcountryhunters.org.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and we've got some outdoors news for you, brought to you by Fish Fighter Products, maker of that quick mount we just told you about a few minutes ago, where you can change that anchor nest over to a mount for your Minn Kota trolling motor on the bow in a matter of seconds. Find out more at fishfighterproducts.com. We've got 3 quick news stories for you this week. We'll start off in Maine from the Outdoors News Daily. If you are looking for the best odds at filling your moose tag, you should probably go to Maine, where 73% of all moose hunters harvested a moose last season. With 2,080 moose permits issued, 1,518 hunters were successful, and that wasn't an exceptional year either. On average, 71% of the hunters gunning for moose in Maine over the last 5 years have brought one home. Heading to the other side of the country, did you hear about that big cougar in Washington State? No, we're not talking about Butch, the mascot for the Washington State Cougars. We're talking about a cougar tranquilized and tagged by a research crew in Northeast Washington. Multiple media outlets have reported the big cat, estimated to be 9 years old, weighed a whopping 197 pounds. That's about a third as big, again, as a normal cougar, and far bigger than any cougar ever seen before in the Evergreen State. Finally, we've got some news to share from the Fishing League Worldwide College Circuit in Gilbertsville, Kentucky, where the Adrian College team of Chase Seraphin and Cody Batterson, fishing for their Michigan-based university, won the 4th annual Yeti FLW College Fishing Open on Kentucky and Barkley Lakes earlier this month. They had a 2-day cumulative title of 10 bass, weighing 50 pounds, 3 ounces. Very impressive. The victory earned the duo a $27,000 prize package, which included a new Ranger Z175 boat with a 90-horse Evinrude and a slot in the 2019 FLW College Fishing National Championship. Their secret lures: Rapala DT6 crankbaits and Terminator spinnerbaits. Second place went to East Texas Baptist University with 42 pounds, 13 ounces of bass, and third place was Bethel University with 10 bass, weighing in at 41 pounds, 15 ounces. Next on America Outdoors Radio, we're going to chat with Alan Horntagger Morris. He hails from the Show Me State of Missouri. He's got all sorts of certifications when it comes to managing deer habitat, and he's going to show you how to do the same with his new book, Whitetail Deer Management and the Weekend Hunter, a book that's billed as a real-life approach for whitetail deer management as a small landowner. Alan, welcome to the show.
Well, appreciate it, John.
Well, Alan, this is a really interesting book, especially for me. I live out west, and we have thousands and thousands of acres of public land to roam. As a matter of fact, where I live in Chelan County, Washington, 87% of the county is public land. But in the Midwest and the South and the East, that's not the case, is it?
No, I was astonished when I was out west. Some of them states are 90% public land, and in Missouri, we're only 7% of public land.
So, in other words, public land hunting isn't really an option in a state like Missouri, and that's why buying a piece of land and developing it for quality deer habitat like you advocate's really the way to go. I mean, that's the most popular way for a lot of folks to go deer hunting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They'll go hunting with friends and family. The average landowner in Missouri is around 250 acres.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about some of the things in your book, and we'll start off at the very first step, and that's buying a piece of land of your own for deer hunting purposes. Now, if you're a guy like me, the first thing you're looking at is the price tag and trying to figure out if it's a woodsy area that might hold deer, but it's a lot more complicated than that, isn't it?
Yes. Every piece of land has a unique feature. So you're not always going to find the things that I like to look for, but in some cases it's good to have it out there so you know what to look for. You know, saddles. If you're a hunter, saddles on a property and looking at topo maps are great. But in the case of when I bought my property, either the surveyors did it on a Monday or a Friday after a hard weekend or before a good weekend, and they missed actually 2 30-foot rides in the property, so I almost didn't buy the property because of the topo. But once I got my boots on the ground, you found that there was multiple saddles on the property.
And what about water sources? I mean, everyone knows that's really important because deer have to have water. You know, does it have to have water on the property or just be close to water?
I always want water on the property, and most times you can build a small watering hole, have that put in, $500, $1,000, depending on how much dozer work costs. But if you have water on the property, that's always a plus. I like to be within a mile, a couple miles of a river system. I always feel that the DNA of the deer, because of the soil fertility, is higher, and that you'll get a lot bigger bucks and does in that area. But having a water source on there, yes, that's an oasis, and you always want to have that on there. You know, it's like getting gas. Are you going to pay $1.50, or are you going to pay $1.50 and drive a half a mile away? So it's, you know, if it's the same price, you'll get it where you're close to.
You're absolutely right. So here's another question for you. Are we looking for farmland or are we looking for timbered land? Because goodness knows you find deer on both.
Right. And one of the things, I listened to a panel discussion and someone asked the exact same question. Well, if you can afford farmland in this area will be anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 an acre. Well, in some of the wooded timber habitat where there is no farm ground, you can buy land for $1,000 an acre. You're going to get a lot more land for a lot less money. Well, I look at it this way. I'd rather be a oasis in a desert than a drop of water in the ocean. So I'd rather have that timber land and make my own habitat.
That makes perfect sense. Last question for you. What's the minimum acreage folks should look at? Because if you look at like websites like landwatch.com or other ones, you'll see lots of 20-acre plots. Is that too small? Should we be looking for bigger plots than that?
But you have to manage your expectations. You know, the more land you have, the more you control the deer herd. But on 40 acres, you may not have a sanctuary, but you have to know what's around you. But you, on 40 acres, you can do a lot. I was 40 acres at one time on a piece of property surrounded by 500. We saw 96 deer during bow season, and the landowner around us didn't see hardly any. I had all the food plots. I had all the water sources. I had all the mineral sites. I had the low hunting pressure, believe it or not, compared to the 500 acres, and he wanted me to help manage his property.
Well, Alan, we are unfortunately out of time, but folks, as you just heard, 40 acres should be your starting point, not 20. Next time we have you on, we're going to talk about how to develop your property to attract and retain deer. But folks, if you want to find out before we get him on the air again, buy his book. It's called Whitetail Deer Management and the Weekend Hunter. It's by Alan Horntagger Morris. I know folks can find it at Amazon.com. Where else can they get it?
You can also go to North American Wildlife and Habitat.com, and that'll give you the link to Amazon. That'll be a quick way.
All right, 2 websites for you. The book again, Whitetail Deer Management and the Weekend Hunter. The author, Alan Horntagger Morris. As you just heard, he's got a lot of great information for you as a small landowner who wants your very own piece of hunting ground for whitetail deer. Alan, thanks for sharing this with us today.
John, I appreciate you having me on.
We've got to go, but if you want more ways to hear this show, here's a few of them. Number one, log on to talkamericaradio.us. It's the new voice of conservative talk radio. We are there Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch us anytime you want through Podbean. That's an app you can download. Just subscribe to America Outdoors Radio, or through YouTube. Our channel there is Northwestern Outdoors. That's one word. Subscribe and follow this show and our sister show. And don't forget our website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com, where you'll find previews of what's coming up on the show next week, and our Facebook page found at America Outdoors Radio, where we post information that we just don't have time to get to in a short hour of outdoors fun. And this was a fun hour of fishing, camp food, hunting, and wildlife now, wasn't it? I don't know about you, but I can't wait to do it again with you next week. I hope until then you are blessed, and I also hope you get outside to do some fishing or work on your deer plot or hit the trail or get out on the water and soak in some sunny springtime weather. Remember, it's your country and your outdoors.